Tell
It's,
me a little bit about yourself, if you can, Zaid, and where you're at with things and what's made you want to book the call. And I guess we'll go from there, my friend.
of course, firstly, thanks for the time. I've been following you on Instagram for some time, and
Hmm.
I've found your posts fairly useful. Well, very useful actually, because it's kind of steered me in a different direction within property.
I appreciate
At the
that.
moment, I'm good. I've got a couple of buy to lets,
Hmm.
and it's been it's been good.
Hmm.
However, cash flow is it's not with the amount I'm actually putting in, as in the risk I'm taking.
Yeah.
It's not as let's just say I'm not getting as much benefit in terms of return on investment. And I was just wondering, uh, I was aware of that, but I thought I'd rather let's just anchor certain properties. So I've got to the final one I just completed last month, so
Hmm.
around December,
Hmm.
and I just thought now is the right time just to start going down the a more creative, well, either rent to let or a rent to HMO. It would be
Hmm.
one of the two.
Hmm.
I've gone through your presentation, which was really good, and I've done a number of other training courses, books, and things like that. But
Hmm.
it's more down to the action, isn't it? As you must see a lot of students that do all of these things. But I thought now's the time before I start registering a business and things like that. I
Hmm.
just wanted to get some direction from you as well as possibly what you have to offer regarding how
Sure.
we move.
Sure. That makes perfect sense. So, I mean, first things first, well done for buying buy to lets. That's definitely a good decision. Like I always encourage people to buy property. I buy properties myself as well.
Okay.
Yes, the cash flow isn't always as good as it could be with like a rent to rent deal, but obviously
That's
you do get the appreciation as time goes on.
spot on.
Like some of mine, I've managed to get all of my money back out of, just from the last sort of 4 years of appreciation that we've had.
Okay. Okay.
So there
Wow,
are
that's
those
really
opportunities.
good.
Yeah, I
Wow.
mean, I invest in Wales, so it's a bit different down there. There's quite cheap
Yeah,
in terms of purchasing costs, but the rents are still quite high.
of
So,
course.
you can get a good sort of 4 grand, 4.5 grand net per year after all your costs on like a
Wow.
100 grand, 120 grand house down there.
Breeks, I think it is
Oh yeah.
because what the way I've planned them, and I don't. You can initially it was the scattergun approach. I was just going all over the country, and I thought, no, hang on a second. If I
Hmm.
stay I'm based in Leicester,
Hmm.
so the like a 2, 3 bedroom over here, you could
Hmm.
buy two or three out in Wales, for example.
Yeah, same
I
price.
thought for within that same amount. So I thought, why don't I got one in Leicester initially, and then
Hmm.
one out in Wales
Hmm.
on the basis that in future because there's a certain level to get like you're on a good level of course where there's complexity when it comes to refurbishment and
Hmm.
the SA side of things,
Yeah.
but it requires a certain skill level and I'm thinking time as well. So I was going down the route of actually I don't manage them myself, Luke. It's with
Hmm.
an agency, and I've
Hmm.
just left it with them. I said, look, everyone earns their piece of the pie, but I just
Hmm.
want it to
Tick
kind of
over.
tick along.
Yeah.
So that's where I am at the moment until I'm at a stage where I'm like, actually, you know what, I can go full time into it like yourself or
Yeah, yeah.
the other
Yeah.
students,
Yeah.
and we can go in that direction. But of course, everyone's got a number, so we'll have to work with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, it's a great place to park your money, and like you say, when you get more time, you can sweat the asset a bit more, I guess, if you wanted to. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a way up between the time you want to put into it versus, it becoming like a passive investment, which is kind of what most investors want, just that recurring income coming in without doing too much work.
Yeah, spot on.
But okay, so rent to rent. I mean, you say you've taken a couple other courses or you've done some education stuff. What have you done in
Yeah,
the
so
past?
I didn't go specifically for rent to rent, but
Hmm.
it came up in there. That's how I understand about you can
Okay.
yeah, it was more on lease options and just
Okay.
it was because I thought to myself, unfortunately, I've got sufficient funds at the moment,
Hmm.
but I thought there will come a point where things are changing so quickly within the government and so on. I want to be as quick as possible rather than just securing one a year or say two a year. Although that's great,
Yeah.
I'd like to get as quick as possible in terms of try find properties where landlords want to kind of retire or whatever their
Yeah.
situation is,
Yeah.
and secure the price. So it's something like but I know you can't always selectively say I want to do like what is it, a lease to
Lease option.
purchase, a lease
Yeah,
to purchase option. So you secure the price now, and then it's on the basis that, and then that will go into the buy to let portfolio.
yeah,
That's how I was thinking initially when that mortgage kind of
yeah,
runs out, and then I could just
yeah, yeah,
remortgage under the company.
yeah.
I was hoping you can, because I don't want to make out as though I'm an experienced person in this, Luke. It's
Well,
a course doesn't, it teaches you enough, but it just scratches the surface. I'm not actually being out there, done on any of the marketing material and
hmm
the letters and things like that. I've not
yeah.
actually gone down that route yet.
Okay.
But I do intend to do that by this first quarter because I'm just planning out 2025,
I
and
like that.
hopefully you can kind of guide me in that area.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, like most of our portfolio is rent to rent HMO. We do have some rent to rent service accommodations in there as well.
Yeah.
Um, we've been going for like 7 years now. Back when I first started, it was probably easier in terms of being able to get the properties, but then you also had to educate the landlords on what it is that you were doing, and you had to educate the agents on how it worked. So that was quite difficult. I guess there's a different obstacle now, which is more that they understand what rent to rent is. There's a lot more people doing it. I
Hmm.
think now the hard part is standing out from the rest and being better than the majority of people that have just watched a YouTube video or taken a quick free course and winged it basically.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is in the messaging, that the particular words that you're using, your copy in your on your landing pages, your marketing materials, your letters, your leaflets. It's we have to be a bit particular now of what we say, and obviously being professional. And ultimately, rent to rent is a business. It's different to buying property in a sense where you do have to do a lot more work in terms of outreach.
Hmm.
Um, but equally, the rewards can be infinite compared to like buy to let, for example. Some of our properties we put 4 grand into and we're making £900 a month back from them. So I mean,
Yeah.
like if coming from someone who's bought property as well, sometimes I look at that and I just think how have we even managed to do that, because it's just it's such a difference, isn't it, compared to putting 30 grand down on a house and getting
That's
300
fine.
or 350 back. So there are opportunities like that around still. There's landlords who are getting tired, like you mentioned earlier, approaching their 50s, 60s. Maybe they've mortgaged the property for the last 25 years. Maybe the mortgage is pretty much paid off now.
Yeah.
Or they may have a little bit left on there to pay. Or maybe the assets increased in value so much that the mortgage is almost insignificant to them in terms of payment. So there's definitely room for negotiation with those types of properties, and there are motivated landlords who are looking for someone with a bit more energy, a bit younger than them, to come in and take over the management. Those types of people, your ideal customer avatar, I guess you'd call it, those HMO landlords, they're probably going to be a portfolio landlord who own, 4 or 5 properties at least. And at that stage in their life, they're more concerned with the passive income element of the asset rather than trying to sweat the asset and make every penny out of it.
Sure.
So business is a people's game, right? And obviously you can do all the marketing in the world, but if a landlord gets on with you and they like you, they're more
Hmm.
likely to work with you, right? So that's what we try and teach on our program is, building relationships. Yes, there is a lot of marketing involved. Yes, we do need you to have a landing page and be set up professionally and insured and compliant, which we show you how to do. But ultimately, most of your work will be done from actually face to face, going and meeting people. That will be where you close
Okay.
most of your rent to rent deals. People think you can just do them online or over the phone, and it's quite difficult to do that now in today's market. It's
Mhm.
landlords aren't just going to give you the keys to their asset for 5 years without meeting you.
That's a
So
good point, actually. Yeah, it's we're so like linked to the digital world
yeah,
sometimes,
yeah,
and
of
we've done
course,
all the hard work, but it's
of
actually,
course.
yeah, that's a good
Well,
point,
some
though.
of our best deals, we've the purpose of the marketing is to get a phone call basically and to create like a warm lead as opposed to a
Mhm.
cold lead and warming them up to it. And then on the phone call, we'll try and view the property, ask the landlord some questions, find out if they're in any sort of pain, find out the problems that they're experiencing. We won't try and pitch them on the phone there and then. We'll go and meet them, speak to them at the property, view the property and make sure it is what it says it is on the tin and it meets our criteria.
Okay.
We do have ways of getting people to view properties, like you can use various different platforms where you can send someone to view it remotely using software like
Okay.
Viewbar. websites like that.
Okay. Okay.
But ultimately, in terms of you offering the deal and getting it over the line, I've gone and sat in a coffee shop with many landlords and gone back and forth with my notepad and
Yeah.
sat there for hours working out what they expect, what we expect, and ultimately it comes down to a personal arrangement, and they seem to take a liking to me. Not all of them, some of them, we're not for them, and equally they're not for us.
Yeah, spot on.
But it is very much a people's business.
Okay. Okay. No, that's good to know because you've been in this area for quite a while. And when I did take the course early in the year, found out straight away that a lot of people are they're going in all other areas. So it's you either go with your local area or you pick a
Hmm.
certain area. So
Hmm.
that's where I just want to focus in one particular area now, Luke. And that's
Yeah.
where I'm thinking more up north, near
Yeah.
Cleethorpes, north east sort of
Yeah.
area.
Yeah. We've got some
Grimsby.
students up there that are doing
Oh,
well.
yeah, okay. So the reason I say that is because I've got a good relation with a couple of agents out there,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that's where the other buy-to-lets are located.
Okay.
But I just wanted to kind of, like you say, it's a business, and I know the hard work, all of that. I'm not shy away from that, but it's more the time aspect, as in
Yeah.
I don't mind putting the time in, but
Yeah.
I want to make it as efficient as possible,
Sure.
because it's a distance away.
Of course.
So. Is this something that you think is realistic with this sort of strategy, or would it be better just for me to continue with buy-to-lets or something else? Because I'm trying to just gauge whether it's this is the right way to go forward.
Yeah, I think it's definitely realistic. I mean, what we tell our students is for the first 3 months, you need to find at least 2 hours a day, Monday
Yeah.
to Friday, in terms of work. And what you're doing in those 2 hours is going to be mainly calling agents, calling landlords. If you've already got some contacts, that's brilliant because you can start to leverage those. But ultimately, 2 hours a day for the first 12 weeks is what we sort of advise. When I first started, I was working like part-time 7 years ago, doing a little delivery job. And in the morning, I would call landlords and agents from sort of 8:30 to 9:30 on the commute on the way in.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
then I would call at the end of the day as well, sort of 4 or 5 o'clock, just to follow up. Um, and then when I got home, I was working on the business for maybe an hour, hour and a half, just in terms of making sure my landing page copy was good, making sure my marketing material was set up and ready to go, my letter campaigns. Um, Once you have everything set up, it's just a case of doing the reps, doing the work,
Mm.
making the phone calls, having the conversations, and becoming a bit of a pest, to be honest, for lack of a better word.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and you will get that breakthrough. I think once the agents realize that you are serious and you're not just a voice on the phone, um,
Hmm.
maybe you would need to go in and visit a few times just to put your face in there and have a conversation. But once you get your first deal or your second deal, you can start to limit going in. But in the beginning, it's quite
Mm.
important to show your face to separate yourself from the crowd. Um, but if you can find 2 hours per day, whether it be in the morning or lunchtime, some students call landlords on their lunch break or estate agents on their lunch break. If you can find those 2 hours every day, then if you use our systems and you're someone who's willing to do the work, then it's pretty inevitable that you will get a deal.
Okay. Okay. The time factor of it do come absolutely fine, but it's when you're in the being in you're going down the wrong direction, rather the wrong path.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, of
where
course. It's what you're
because
doing
I've
with your time.
wasted exactly. I've wasted many hours in the evening just doing that, and then I
Yeah,
realized after that, oh, actually, I was meant to be doing something else.
right.
But I was just trying to gauge whether because it's almost like you're another agent, estate agent
Hmm.
for when you're doing rent to rent. That's how I understood it, and I was trying to find a way where I just focus on finding the deals, speaking with landlords,
Yeah.
and I just pass it on to an agency. Do you think this is, I don't know if this is something new. I'm not sure if anyone else
I
does
mean,
that,
no,
but
I've had that
and
question
then,
today already from someone else, actually.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
all
because
right.
you want it to become passive, don't you, right?
That's exactly because my main aim, yeah, and you can correct me if I'm wrong at any
Hmm.
point. Yeah, I'm not, like I said at the beginning, I'm not experienced to that
Yeah.
extent, but my main aim is just to increase the cash flow to allow
Hmm.
for me to continue purchasing buy-to-lets or
Sure.
purchase that property
Yeah.
and handle it in that manner. So,
Yeah.
yes, I understand that from the 900 or 800 net profit,
Hmm.
or from the gross actually. I would actually lose possibly 10%. But
Yeah,
like I said, I want everyone to be winning in the end, but
yeah,
with the least amount of headache. That's what I'm
of
trying to
course,
achieve out of this.
of course.
And then I want to take on the headache at a later date when it comes to,
Yeah, yeah, we all want
commercial
the
plans
delayed.
and things like that. That would be
Yeah,
great to work on, but
yeah,
I need to walk first.
of course. And I understand what you're saying totally. I just think that when you're starting out, it can be difficult to work and make a good margin when you're working with the agents because if I
Okay.
think about my first rent to rent property, we got it from an estate agent originally. But there were some issues like in the operations once we took it on. I mean, what was great was the first time we took that property on, the agent actually recommended a gentleman walked into the shop who was our ideal tenant, if you like, of that property, and they turned out to be a great tenant of ours.
Oh,
But
wow.
he was looking for that. He wanted to rent the same property, but they were based in Finland. They were a ship engineering company, but they
Okay.
were working in Newport. And the agent who I'd been sort of befriending over the last however many months, 3, 4 months, he gave me his number and said, just give him a call. Maybe he'll rent it off of you guys, because I'd already secured it. Um, and it turned out that that was the exact property they were looking for. I phoned the guy. He said he'd ha be happy to pay a premium if we paid all the bills in our name and set everything up in our company's name. And because they were based in Finland, they couldn't actually get a tenancy here because there wasn't UK based, but they were working on a placement for the next 3 or 4 years. It's gone on to be 5 years now.
Okay.
Um, so they kind of are happy to pay a premium, those types of companies, to people like us, to people like yourselves, in order for you to almost be the middleman, the front almost for them, like if you rent the property for a fixed price, furnish it, set the bills up, they don't want to do any of that. They just want to be able to pay one payment.
Mm.
And we over delivered with them on that first one, whatever they asked for, we'd get them, microwaves, fiber optic broadband, everything they wanted,
Yeah.
we'd go and get. But then by doing that, we then got another 18 or 19 of their staff relocated from Glasgow. And because we'd
Wow.
been doing the marketing with the landlords and constantly offering on HMOs, the landlords that turned us down, we actually followed them up 3, 4 months later, and we ended up being able to pair the two together. So we ended up with 5 houses on the same road with the same company in. Um,
Nicely done there.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is a
nice. It was good. It was a good bit of business, but the first one that we took on was through an estate agent, is my point. And there were a few maintenance issues with the house, which we would speak to the agent because they would be managing the property. And because that property was one of 200 of theirs, it wasn't like a priority for them. So there would
oh,
be like a delay in maintenance. Like say, for example, a toilet piston's broken or something, and one of the
mm,
toilets in the house is out of service. You're charging people a premium for to stay there, and all of a sudden they're not getting a premium service. And because you're
with
not
you.
the main person maintaining the property, you have to speak to the estate agent. There's like a lag, a delay of things getting fixed, and that
With
could make
you.
some issues. So, long story short, by the end of that first year, the landlord could see all of the email correspondence between us and the agent when things would break and how long it would take 2 or 3 weeks before it would get fixed. And we ended up just working directly with the landlord. So we ended up cutting out the agent basically,
Mm, okay.
just because he could see we were more proactive with the maintenance and stuff. So
Okay.
I think initially to get deals, it can be a great source of getting deals from agents, but I don't know overall if you're trying to build a business and be as efficient as possible. I don't know
Mm.
whether employing them to do management would be a forward or backward step, you know? I feel like it might be backwards.
You've just put me in my place there, and yeah,
Well,
no,
I'm
no,
just telling you, it's
like
how
I
it's
said,
worked
no,
for
no,
me.
no, because it made sense in my head because I was just looking at the passive side of things. But what you've just said there is then you'll end up with tenants that would complain more
Yeah, it's like too
instead
many
of you.
chefs. You know that
Yeah.
phrase, too many chefs?
Yes, yes. Okay, okay. Now that's so on that basis, it would make sense for me to remain local to a certain extent for the first couple
Yeah,
until I believe the business is cash flowing enough in order for me to recruit someone to then manage.
definitely, definitely. That's how you get your time back. We've got a lettings agent that we use, a lettings person within our company, sort of in-house, who deals with tenants, speaking with tenants, replying to adverts on spare room, any maintenance correspondence goes through them, and then it comes to us. So that's a part-time member of staff that we've employed. We also have like a handyman who can fix, sometimes tenants lock themselves out of their rooms and things like that, and we
Yeah.
often have to go and fix the locks, things like that. And then we also have like a cleaning company who we use as well, who do like for the service accommodation houses, they do like the laundry and they do the cleans for us and turn the properties around for the next guests that are turning up in the next following week. So like those three people you can employ once you start getting some money coming in.
Okay.
And obviously, the more work there is for them, the better the job is, the better quality of person you'll get. When you've just got one, it's not much work for them to do a couple hours a week here and there. When you've got a few, it starts to compound and it's more of an appealing job role for them.
I'm with you. Okay.
So you can definitely make it remote and run the business remotely, but that first lift off, it's going to take 80% of your energy more so, you know?
Exactly. And driving up 2, 3 hours is not ideal.
No, so maybe
Uh,
best to start local to where you are. Take your time, have a think about it. There's no rush.
No, no, I'm not just telling you this and then the phone go off. It's and you won't hear from me. I'd really like to do this, and I'd like to do it in a professional, long-term way, like with the guidance you've given, it's
Yeah,
put to work. So
yeah.
rather than me wasting my time just going through, everything else.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's that's really good. Is this your last call for the day, Luke,
I've got
or
one
have you
more.
got
I've got one
one
more at
more?
4:30, and
Oh,
then I'm signing off for the day.
then you can put your feet up
I can
and
put my feet up
yeah.
then, yeah, and watch
Yeah.
Netflix.
All right then. All right. Thanks for that. It was lovely speaking with you.
You too. You have a good
Yeah.
day, and
Yeah.
I'll get the email sent over, and hopefully we speak soon.
So, yeah, I'll look out for it and keep in touch. Right.
Yes,
Take
take
care.
care. Have a good
Bye
weekend.
now. Yeah.
Bye. Bye.